time work. So, welcome everyone. I'm Susan Hyde, and I am so excited today to talk to you about simplifying September. So, if you're here and you feel like September is kind of like it's like mini January, I feel like. Give me a something in the comments, like a heart or a like, yep, I feel that way. So I feel like September is like a perfect month to do a little bit of a refresh or a restart, right? I honestly I like January, but I feel like I'm a little more I'm more attached to September just with right school rhythms and everything and the seasons changing. I love it. So anyway, we are going to talk about how things shift and become, I feel like a little busier. But I love that September is a fresh start. And you have 6 birthdays in 7 weeks. Oh my word. That, yes, I can relate. Our family has 5 birthdays within 2.5 weeks. And so, yes. So I don't know if this is helpful. It's not in my notes, but we can kick it off here. We do, and maybe we've chatted about this, Jocelyn. We do what we call birthday extravaganza now. And so we do one big thing for all of those birthdays at one time. And it's a big thing. We usually are going out to a kind of a fancy dinner, or one of our favorites is going to a place that does a wonderful brunch in our area, and it's just a real special time. So we really look forward to that. So anyway, it's a lot happening, but right, you find ways to make it happen and for it to be special for your family. So anyway, so let's kick it off. So today is not about adding more to your plate. It's about creating margin for peace, your family, and cozy moments. Okay. So, I love the changing seasons. So there is a shift that happens that I do feel. I feel refreshed. I feel like a page has turned differently than any other month, I think, for me. Even for January, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on January. And maybe that's September is like its little sister, but she's kind of more beautiful. So I just feel like there's just more opportunity and you just don't feel like, there's a lot of pressure there. So I love changing out my decor. And if you know, I'm a loveliest, and I need to do a little tour because I've changed my to my fall decor, but it's not overkill. And so just sharing some of those simple touches I think that we can do that kind of helps set the tone in our home. And just helps us kind of do that little shift. Um, and I don't want us to feel overwhelmed with all those too. So it's like it can be too much at once unless we are intentional about it. So, how do you easily transition without stress? And so I'm going to share with you some tips today that hopefully you will take away and you will feel like, oh, yeah, I'm going to pick a couple of these, and these are going to be what I really focus on and remember. Because if you have followed me for a while, you know it is all about the small shifts. There, you do not have to do, 42,000 things all at once to make magic happen. It is about developing small habits. It is those small shifts, and those end up building upon each other. And that's where you actually see change. Because if you're expecting yourself to go and start a new routine tomorrow that has 15 new things, the chances that you will actually succeed are very small. It is very difficult to take on such extremes like that. And so you will have more success when you just choose a few things. And so that is what we're going to focus on today. So I noticed when I switched out the fall stuff was just something different for my family here. And there's just me and my husband and one more a 15-year-old at home. I used to have more kids and they're out doing their own homes now, which is really, isn't that the point of parenting where we want to launch off, right? And so it's really a sweet season of seeing that. But I still want to create that space, especially when my older kids come back into my home. I'm like in that season where I'm really relishing that. So I wanted to refresh my front porch, which I did. And I shared a reel on that. But keep in mind, friends, I am not here to tell you that you have to go shop a big long Amazon, list to buy all the things to make things beautiful in your home. You just don't. And so we're going to talk about the beauty part, but we're going to talk about the other pieces. So, and we're going to touch on this term. And I asked Google to tell me how to say it because I knew how to say it one time and then I forgot. But Hugie is that word, Hygge. That's how you say it. So now I know because we're going to touch on that today. But in the Confident Homemakers Collective, which is my monthly membership, that is what we're going to focus on for the month of October. And I think I'm even going to do a house tour in there. That has been something that's been asked for all the time. And I've been really cautious to do one and just show it on my Instagram altogether because my Instagram is kind of large and I don't know that I need all of those people knowing the intricacies of my home. But I'm thinking, oh, it might be fun to do inside the collective. But all right, we are going to touch on 7 ways to create more cozy moments and more time for your family to enjoy what really matters for the rest of this year. Okay. So the first one, and we kind of touched on this a little bit in our monthly Q&A that I just got off of. And so I am like fresh with this, but it's decluttering and resetting your living spaces. And so, swapping out what maybe you have out for summer or maybe what you just normally have year round in your home and swapping some of those things out for things that maybe are warmer tones or, getting some different textures. Maybe you have, some fall pillows that you enjoy putting out, or maybe you have different blankets that you enjoy. Those are all things that really do create a reset in your home and kind of give you a different, flavor. But I want to encourage you, use what you already have. And so I'm very good at this as far as repurposing things. I might just take something and put it in a different area of my home, and it still gives that perception that it's new because it's not being associated with where I normally have it, right? I might use the same dough bowl on my table, but maybe I go put it on a different table in my home, and so just use what you have and be creative. If you need, to scroll Pinterest a little bit to maybe get an idea, totally do that. If you have a few, home decor people that you follow on Instagram to give you inspiration, by all means, do it. I would say that is not me. Home decor is not my specialty. I do what I can. But yeah, there are people way more gifted in that than I am. Bring in natural things. So, you can start now, maybe not where you live, but here our leaves are turning. So you could gather leaves. You could, get a branch that has colored leaves still on it and then just take that and put that in a simple vase. Put it on your mantle or put it on a centerpiece, lay the branches out in your, across your dining table. Maybe you have a tray. So many options just to bring the outside in, but that doesn't cost you extra money. It just changes everything. So pine cones, man, if you've got little kids, get them on a pine cone search. They will love finding those. So and then here's a practical tip. Pick one space. I feel like even in my home, sometimes when I was getting ready to switch out my fall stuff, I felt like, ooh, it was a lot to cover. So maybe you just pick one space, like a coffee table or your dining table, and you just focus on that, just switching that spot out, and that's all you do. And maybe next fall, next year, you decide maybe you do need to purchase a few things, right? Maybe you want to buy a new table runner, but that's not in the budget this year. Use what you have and just know, like, oh, I'm going to watch for something to go on sale, or maybe look, on Facebook, maybe somebody's selling something, or maybe you're a great thrifter. Look for something that you could then use in the following year. So just don't feel like you have to buy something, to fit the need immediately. So, and then decluttering is so good at this time of year as well. So, if you are struggling and not sure what to do, I want to say when I post the recording here, actually, for you guys that are joining, I'm going to put it in the comments because I just pulled up this link to put in the other recording. But if you have not grabbed my free 28-day checklist to a simplified home, that's a free, I have two different things. I have a free checklist, but then I also have a guide that has a video with it and is a little more detailed on actually decluttering your home. But this one is for the free checklist. And I want to encourage you, if you feel like clutter is causing you some stress right now, grab that checklist. And it may say it's 28 days to a simplified home, but friends, nobody says you have to do it in 28 days in a row. Okay. So maybe you just look at that list and it gives you a starting place to not be burdened with decision fatigue of being like, blah, there's so much stuff. Where do I start? Just pick one thing off the list and do it today. And maybe a couple days later, you were like, oh, I have 15 or 20 minutes. Where's another area that I can, focus on? And so remember, it's just small little shifts or habits that we put into practice. Do not allow yourself to become overwhelmed. So, any suggestions for homes without storage space? So, I love baskets. So, I would encourage you if you don't have a lot of built in storage space, just for instance, just because I'm here and I can show you. So, when we moved into this home, we bought this buffet here. And so, I don't know, it was from Target. It wasn't any big piece of it wasn't any fancy furniture, I want to say. So maybe it was $150. But there's shelves in there, and that's where my grandkids' toys go. Okay, I didn't really have a space. I didn't have a closet like that. But I mean, if I wanted it, that's glass. I don't really care. There's not a lot of people that are going to see that side of it, I mean, so there's random baskets and things. But if I really wanted it to look beautiful, I could have shelves that didn't have doors on it and just have baskets so that, you're right, we want to have a spot for all of the things. And so if we have to see them with our eyes, what does that cause? Our nervous system to get kind of like, blah, right? And so baskets, find them at, thrift stores, or you can find some where you buy a set, and they're less expensive, but just putting those and having a spot for different things, especially if you have a lot of kids' toys, that has been a real lifesaver for me. And so, yeah, that was a great question. Perfect. So yeah, but don't be afraid to start getting rid of things. And I don't know why this just came to my mind, but let's just talk bathroom towels. How many bathroom towels do you have sitting in your bathroom? And do you get frustrated when you're having to put laundry away because you have so many towels or washcloths that you don't know where that you can stuff them into maybe the spot that you have? But then you have to think, how many people do you have living? Do you really need, 22 bath towels? I mean, you've had them for like 15 years, right? And so that whole process of really realizing how many do I really need? And so I would encourage you, if you haven't gotten into the habit of doing one load of laundry a day, that is a lifesaver because then you are going to need less clothing, rags, towels, all of those things. You will need less of those because you are doing the laundry more frequently. And that is a huge piece for me that has been a lifesaver. So for the three of us, we have 7 bath towels. We have a few extra for when we have guests, but those are kind of like in a shelf in our, guest bathroom, so they're not being used on the regular. So it's very handy for us. I don't have a ton of storage space either. Our house actually, it's been remodeled, but it was built in 1920. So there's not a lot of those spaces like are in newer modern homes as well. So I get that. I've had to make purposeful choices to kind of reduce some of that clutter. So anyway, so clutter. Take some time over, and it could be 3 months to kind of go through some of those areas in your home that are causing you stress because they will keep you from feeling like your home is nice and cozy, right? And giving you that warm, fuzzy feeling unless we are able to purge some of those things. So, okay. The second area I wanted to talk about was revisiting your morning routine. So, depending on your season of life, once school comes into session, that either impacts you or maybe it doesn't. But if it does, this is kind of a little bit more towards you. But even still, you can still revisit your morning routine because it's not getting a light as soon as it was, depending on the area of the country that you are in. And so it just might look different. Maybe you have to shift from some of the things that you normally did in the morning. So, but if you are, a mom that has school age kids, whether you're homeschooling, whether you're taking your kids, out of the home to go to school, everything shifts once school starts. So for us, school starts in September. Many of you might have had that happen actually in August, but it's never too late to really examine how that rhythm goes for you. So, and then you've got sports, right? And then, right, our days are getting a little shorter as well. So I would ask yourself, does the routine that I have in the morning, is it still serving me well? And if the answer is yes, then okay, check that box and you can move on. But if you are feeling like it's not really serving you in the best way, like you're feeling frustrated, or maybe, you've noticed that you have run out of time and you're scrambling before everybody has to get out the door or whatever, this is the opportunity for you to kind of look at that and determine what needs to shift. And so, some of the things that I love to talk about are having anchors in your day. And so these are kind of like comfort things that kind of draw you kind of back. They kind of rehone you. So for me in the morning, like I have certain things that I do as part of my morning routine, and they're unique to me and they may look different for everybody, right? But the first thing I do is I always come down and I drink 16 ounces of water with a little bit of salt in it. And then I go turn the coffee maker on. And then, I'm making my coffee and then I'm using my oils. I have certain things that happen in a certain order. Do I consciously have to think about those things now? No, but they are setting me up for success. They are really part of my rhythm. And so I love to, light a candle now that I found a brand that I can use. I also have diffusers. Those for me, they just set a tone. And I can tell you the mornings, especially that I have my diffuser going, depending on what I have in there, when my husband comes down or my son comes up, their attitude shifts when they start smelling, especially this time of year, something that's got clove and cinnamon bark in it and orange. They're like, they just act different. And that's the magic power that we have with using diffusers. But so I love having that as an anchor, right? If I know I need to kind of circle everybody back into a good place, a diffuser is a great way to do that. Having coffee or tea, depending on what that looks like for you. If you want to, consume water first thing in the morning, that's great. Do you like to read in the morning? Maybe, you like to get out to see the sunrise, kind of like me. Those are the pieces that you want to kind of examine and say, how does this look for me now? Is this serving me? What else can I put into that routine? So maybe there are some new ones. Maybe you want to, pick a new book to read during that morning. Maybe you've got 15 minutes that you would love to just set aside before your family starts getting up and all of that. And you are like, oh, I want to get into a new book. Find a new book, grab it from the library, or make a treat purchase and on Amazon for it. So, and then add new seasonal foods, especially for breakfast with that morning routine. I was at Bible study yesterday, and the hostess had made Pumpkin scones. I will say I'm not a huge fan, but oh my gosh, you guys, these scones were amazing. So now I'm like, I want to make pumpkin spone. I keep saying spones. Scones. I want to make them. And so I'm going to find a recipe. And this weekend I'm going to make them. And so then I can have them. I can then freeze them, which is one of my favorite things to do. And then I can pull out a couple at a time in, maybe a couple days during the week and have something special for my family. Maybe it's muffins. Maybe it is a new egg dish, or you're going to do egg burritos for, your family. Just try something different to kind of, give it a little bit of a different feel. So, and that will look different for everybody too, as well. So just look at your time and realize what is realistic for you, what time to get up. And then in that, right, I feel like sometimes we want to have these big morning routines and then we run out of time. But the problem is we want to have a great routine in the morning, but maybe we're not getting to bed until late. And so then it makes it more difficult for us to get up. And so you kind of have to back it up. Once you have the ideal morning routine that you want, back it up so then you can be like, okay, if I want to wake up and feel refreshed so I can accomplish this, I really do need to get to bed 30 minutes earlier than I have been, or, whatever that looks like for you. So do that and don't be afraid to do that. So, I'm sorry, I'm getting some questions. Are there pet-friendly diffusers? You have two cats. I see Lindsay answered. With pure high-quality oils, cats are usually fine. Yeah, so I would definitely be sure that you are using quality oil. And so I only have personal experience using Young Living. My daughter has three cats, uses oils completely. I have two dogs. We've got guinea pigs that we've had oils around, bunnies, so birds. Lots of options there, and there's some great resources. And so, one of the things that I like to just stipulate too when you're using oils with pets in the home is I always just have a door open if I'm diffusing. So, if my dogs don't like the scent, then they are able to leave the room. But yeah, with pure oils that don't have any fillers or synthetics in it, you're usually not going to have any kind of a problem. But that was a great question. You ordered the pumpkin spice. Oh my gosh, Amy, it is so good. Yes, I know. I've been diffusing that lately. So, okay. So we've talked about a little decluttering and reset, then revisit your morning rhythm. The third one is kind of short and sweet, and you probably already have this one in your radar, but it is a seasonal wardrobe simplify, right? I feel like, I don't know, it seems like we simplify for summer because we're wearing less, right? And smaller clothes. Winter or fall and winter, we kind of have to go in and think about, right? Those layering of things. And maybe you've put away your sweaters and it's time to bring those out. Or, maybe it's not quite time to get all the snow gear out, but maybe this is a great time to take a look at those items now and determine, oh, have we grown out of what we need? Do we need to purchase new gloves, and kind of inventory that maybe before you actually have to get it out, and keep it in a place where it's really easily accessible, because this is the time, right, that is for you to purchase it so you don't have drama and stress when you wake up and there's unexpected snow or something, and then you're like, blah, nobody's gloves fits, right? You had to purchase so many things for your 3-year-old. Oh my goodness. Yes, right? But it's so good, right, to think about this ahead of time. So go through those things. And then if you have a system for kind of storing your seasonal items, that is great. But I don't think you have to have anything too, glamorous. I love sometimes those under the bed storage boxes. You don't even have to get plastics ones. They have cardboard ones, or even just, if you are an Amazon shopper, there's some of those flat Amazon boxes. Don't feel like you have to buy something fancy to store something in, right? Use what you have. And so even those small flat boxes from Amazon that you can put under, you can put, masking tape and write what is on there. Maybe this is the gloves, or this is the short bin. It doesn't have to be fancy. So just getting it out of the everyday area where that you are, having your clothes will alleviate some stress, because you're not having to weed through those things, and it will Honestly, it will reduce decision fatigue in the morning. I will tell you, I need to clean my closet out because there's a lot of things in it that are too big for me now because I've gotten more muscle and tightened up, so that is a good thing. But it is so irritating to me to have to go through so many things in my closet. When we have less decisions to make, doesn't it feel better? It's just so much better. So that is on my list to do. So okay, so the fourth one is something I actually talked about a couple months ago inside the collective with my ladies is something called eyes closed dinners. Okay. Who struggles with meal prep? I feel like this is when I asked the question in my stories the other day, I would say there was at least six people that said meal prep or meal planning was kind of like the thorn in their side. And I will say it is one that is common. And so, yes, so we're going to talk about eyes closed dinners and what that is. Oh, you use baskets and zipper bags stored in your closet. Yes, those zipper bags are amazing. I love that because then you can label the outside very easily. We stored blankets and bedding in that when we actually put our, items in a storage unit. So that's a great tip. Thank you for that. Yes, several people. Yes, meal planning. Okay, so what are eyes closed dinners? So these are meals so simple that you make them with your eyes closed. You do not need a recipe. You just kind of put it together. You've made it so many times. And so we compiled a list of 5 to 10 of those recipes that you just don't have to think about. And some examples, okay, and I can't remember if I might have said it earlier or in my last call, they're going to kind of meld together, but making taco meat. Okay. I don't have to think about how to make taco meat. I don't need a recipe, right? I simply put the hamburger in there, put my seasoning, and do all that. But it behooves me, right, to make more than, 1 pound of taco meat. If I am going to go through the process of doing it, I might as well make 3 pounds or 4 pounds, right? So then I've got a bunch and then I can either freeze that or I can use it for another day during the week. So maybe you are a soup person and you have a soup that you can make. I don't use recipes a lot for my soups, but that's an eyes closed thing that I can do. It's like I don't have to really think about what I'm doing. So you might have a family favorite recipe. There's an Instapot recipe that I don't have to have a recipe for. It's just ground beef and some tomatoes and corn and some broth, and you put it in the Instapot. So think about those meals and then out of those, what can you have that is stocked in your pantry so that if you happen to forget, right, to plan something for dinner, you have the supplies to make up kind of like a backup plan. Okay. Or those are just some of those menus in this busy season that you filter through when you're meal planning. It's amazing, right? I love to try new recipes, but when I'm in a space where we have busy days, the last thing I want to do is have to go sit there step by step reading a recipe. It's not bringing me enjoyment, right? I just need to get good food on the table for my family. I don't need to be a chef or a gourmet cook at that, right? That may be reserved for a Sunday when maybe we don't have other things planned, right? So just be aware of what are the things that you can cook quickly and easily that don't cause you more decision fatigue. So, and then, my tips that I always say, double or tripling those recipes, they are a lifesaver, you guys. Just doing that on the regular, so good. When I woke up not feeling well early last week and was able, oh, I know I have soup in the freezer and I was able to just grab it really quick and thaw it. And within, 40 minutes, we had my homemade soup. I didn't have to make it. And this is also great too. Total side note, but if a friend of yours is, ends up sick or maybe, they lose a family member and you have some of those meals that you have prepped ahead of time because you've batch cooked, then you might be in a position to incredibly bless somebody. And it really didn't take a lot of extra time for you to do that because you already made it ahead. It's just you, maybe buying a bag of salad and bringing over, those frozen cubes of soup and just saying, here, I want to bless you today. I mean, it is such a lost art, but how would you feel if somebody did that for you? Like amazing. And we can do that for others. So, and then if you are in a season where you are doing lots of sports, this is the perfect opportunity. If you're not wanting to do fast food and you're unsure of what that looks like because you're not home during the dinner hour, don't be afraid, right? To instead of having an after school snack, maybe that's when you actually serve dinner, and maybe it is something from the crock pot or the Instapot, or you've made chili, right? And so it's a little heftier of a snack. And so then maybe it's a snack that you bring right to the sports. Or maybe you want to invest in a nice thermos where you can actually have soup and chili or stews, and you can have them at the ball field or whatever you're doing. And so that is an option. In fact, my son has gotten into taking stuff in this little thermos that he used, I don't know, probably 4 years ago when he used to take some stuff in his lunch that he wanted to keep hot. He's into doing that now, which is kind of I'm all about it. So anyway, so way more economical for your family, and you can provide healthy options as well. So okay, so that was number four. The fifth one is something that I recently really just was made aware of just with regard to the blue light and everything that we are exposed to, but it's making a cozy atmosphere with light. So now that, it's getting darker earlier, we tend to be throwing on, the lights in our house. And for me, I've become really sensitive to having just massive lights blaring in the evening. It's just not good for my nervous system. And so you can swap lighting for just having lamps. So we have a lot of those big bulbs in our ceiling, and I hate turning those on. So I want to make sure that I have some lamps so that I can turn those on instead, and we still have light. And I'm going to share that I purchased these Edison style warm light bulbs. And I will put that link when I share the recording in the email as well with you guys. They are a warm light. They are not bright, and they kind of have a little yellowy glow, and it just gives a totally different feel to your room. It feels warm, right, with that warm light. And it's just much easier on my eyes to even be reading at night. And it does help with that blue light exposure, especially in the evening, which if we're not going to go down that rabbit trail right now, but that helps with your melatonin production and so much more. So even just, if your kids want to do like Christmas twinkle lights in their room, or maybe you have a little spot, maybe in your entryway where you set those up. Those are just fun ways to add a little bit of brightness, right? And as we go into this season where it is going to be dark for a lot more of the time during the day, right, than what we're used to coming out of summer. So, but those light bulbs, I will tell you, have been a game changer for me. Okay, and then we've already kind of touched on the diffusers, but that cozy atmosphere with the lights, if you like to burn candles, this is the time. Come November, I will switch out on my dining table and just have a tray that has just beeswax pillars, and we will burn those candles at dinner time. And you would think it's funny. The first time I did this last year when my granddaughter came over, she thought it was a special occasion. But I was like, no, we're just burning candles at dinner because, right? And so don't be afraid to make something that seems special just an everyday thing, for your family, because it really does give the signal to their brain like, oh, we're slowing down. This is something different. And so it can be easy to do that. So, but yeah, diffusers, every of those fall scents are so amazing this time of year. So, and then if you have a fireplace, don't be afraid to use it. So we're lucky we have a gas fireplace, so I don't have to deal with chopping wood or storing wood or all that. But if that is the fireplace that you have, don't be afraid to use it. The glow that comes from those flames, so healthy for us to, have that through our eyes and everything. It really is good. And it just becomes part of that cozy rhythm as well. So, all right. And we have two more, and then I have a bonus little topic. All right. Protecting your time and energy. Okay. So, I am a big proponent that you, as the homemaker, right, you get to set the atmosphere in your home. And if you don't, everybody else in your family is going to try to do that. And so it's really imperative that we own that responsibility and do our best in order to create that atmosphere that we want. And it comes with, reminding ourselves that being busy all the time is not equivalent to always being productive, right? What in your schedule is creating busyness, but it isn't really producing, what you might desire. So, some practical ideas on this is that using timers. If anybody does this, I have gone in and out of seasons of using timers for myself, and I think I'm back in the season where I need to use a timer and just have one sitting out on my kitchen counter so that if I want to choose to do something that I know I tend to get carried away with, that I set a timer, right? Um, we were just talking about scrolling, and so there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. However, it is a problem when we sit down to want to do it for a couple of minutes and then we look and it's been 25 or 30 minutes and then we're like, ouch, right? So do that, but set a timer for yourself. Set whatever that looks like for you, and then you can enjoy that and then move on. It's just when we get into that sucked in stage. So use timers for 20-minute focus bursts. This works great, right? If you are wanting your family to help you with tasks, or maybe you want to clean up an area, or you want to declutter an area, use that timer. So then you're like already intentionally, okay, I'm going to set 20 minutes to do this. And after the 20 minutes, what we get done in that time is all I'm going to set aside. And then you can move on. And you don't have to carry this guilt like, oh, it didn't finish or whatever, fill in the blank, right? Um, Batching errands together. If you don't do this, I would highly encourage you. So for me, I will keep a little section on my notes in my phone if I know, like, I have to go run to Costco, or I have to go to the Amazon Go store, or I have to do, all of these things, which may be in different areas, right? And so I'll just have a little running list that I know, oh, I have to go to Amazon Go, and that's by where I go to Bible study. And so I just know, like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then what else can I batch that's in that area? If maybe I need to go to a special grocery store because they have a certain thing, I know, oh, I'm going to put that right there. So then I can easily look and know, right? Oh, I'm going to this area of town. I'm going to do these things. And so when we do that, we save us so much time, because driving in the car, you guys, that is not productive time. It keeps us busy, but it's not productive, right? So teaching about just that margin concept has been huge. When we circle around, when I'm teaching on different topics inside the Confident Homemakers Collective, that term margin is so huge, because if you don't create space in your day with that margin, you will continue to run from thing to thing to thing to thing. And so my husband and I are going to sit down this weekend because we need to create some more margin in our week. The way our schedule has started with the school year and the activities my son is in, and things that I've chosen to be involved in, and then my husband, working out of town. And so then it solely relies on me to do a lot of those. It's not working. And before things catch fire and a whole thing comes tumbling and burning down, we need to make some hard decisions to realize that there needs to be more margin. And so I want to empower you to make those hard decisions before it really impacts your family negatively, because it can. And then we carry a lot more emotion around that. So let me read some comments. Yeah, you are, right. With a baby and a toddler, you have learned to be very efficient. with your errands. Yes. And as somebody who isn't in that season, I think it can be easy to kind of be like, well, I have all the time in the world, but it really isn't efficient. What could I be doing with the other time that, I could be sitting on my patio reading a book with time maybe that I wasted because I didn't plan more effectively. So yes. Oh, Laura, you need more margin. We all can use more margin. And I think it's just kind of bringing it back to the forefront so that we are thinking about it instead of us living as a victim of this busyness, right? Because it's almost, I feel like we're coming out of this, but it is almost like it was held as a badge of honor. Like you ask somebody, like, how are you doing? Oh my God, we're so busy. We're so busy. Like I'm so important. We're so busy, right? And what would that look like if we could answer that question differently? Instead of like speaking that over us over and over and over again. Like I don't need to speak that over myself. I want to have margin, right? So, all right, let me make sure I'm not skipping anything in my notes. Yeah, so I would encourage you maybe to identify one thing that you can release in this season. So when we sit down this weekend and have the conversation for our family, I've identified the one thing that I think can be released, but it will be up for a conversation, but we will figure it out together. And I know that, there'll be a little bit of disappointment, right? Because my son, he wants to do all the things, but the problem is we can't do all the things all the time, right? So okay, and then the seventh one is just refresh your family rhythms. For fall, I think this is a fun one. We're getting into that season where, your family might have some traditions that you normally do, right? I feel like now that we're coming into where it's getting darker earlier, there might be more like Friday night pizza nights and movie nights, or maybe you make popcorn a little bit more, or you do a family dessert night. I feel like there's just a shift that happens from the spring and the summer to the fall. It just feels like there's more, maybe it's hot chocolate after church on Saturday and you make that something that you guys do together or whatever. It's just looking at how can you refresh those times that your family connects without spending a lot of money, but you're creating some traditions and you're creating those memories. So, as somebody that has kids out on their own, right? And we come back and we have family dinner here at my house. I am literally amazed at some of the conversations that come up about the things that my kids remember that we did when they were younger at home and that I thought were not, I mean, they weren't important, but I mean, for one, you guys, when I was in the season where I was a single mom, we ate hamburger helper all the time. And now my kids laugh hysterically because that's not something that I've purchased in years. However, they can sit there and recite all of the flavors of the hamburger helper that we would have. Oh no, this one was our favorite, right? So that was just survival mode for us, but they remember that and they remember it with fondness. So think about what would you want to sit around when, in 10 years when your kids are out on their own and they come home, what do you want your kids to say that they might remember from, being at home and growing up? Those are the things I think that I didn't think about, right? 10 and 15 years ago. I was really in some survival mode, and I would just encourage you. Just one thing. Don't feel like you got to come up with eight different things to put into your new, family routine refresh, and you're going to be, Martha Stewart doing all the things. No, no, no. Just pick one or two things. And what would even be fun is just maybe you talk about it around dinner. Hey, I have some ideas that might be fun to put into practice, for the next couple of months. Out of these things, which, maybe it sounds more fun or would you guys like to do? And get them engaged in that. I think it's really important when we can, take into account what they have, that their opinions matter as well. So anyway, so just refreshing those things and then game nights and puzzles. This is puzzle season. I feel like we were doing puzzles in the summertime because we had some house guests, and that was a great thing to just kind of gather people around and, have conversations. But I feel like fall and winter is truly like puzzles. It's like puzzle sports. Like that's a sporting event. So, yes, you've been doing puzzles. So, yes. And I love that we can grab a puzzle and we do the puzzle, and then we have a great buy nothing group on Facebook here in our area. And so then I know I get to pass it along to another family, and then they're going to have fun with it. And they know that we have all the pieces. I don't want to buy puzzles from thrift stores anymore because I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe, we get to it and there's there's pieces missing, which I guess in the end is not really, it isn't the success isn't getting to the final result. It's the process, right? So anyway, but maybe some crossword books or word searches, things like that that you can, just have so that your family doesn't always feel like maybe they have to turn on the TV to have an enjoyment, just having some of those things that are really fun. Maybe you listen to audiobooks or, you have maybe some podcasts that you could listen to as a family as well, depending on, the age of your kids and stuff. Just kind of have a little bit of imagination. So, okay, so the bonus thing I wanted to kind of talk about, because all of these things are great. Okay, so let's just kind of share really quick. We've got decluttering and resetting your living space, revisit your morning routine, seasonal wardrobe simplify, those eyes closed dinners, things you can think of without having to, follow a massive recipe. Cozy atmosphere with your light and even scent in your home, protecting your time and energy, and then refreshing your family rhythms. I almost feel like this one is the most important, and it's the bonus section, but it is nurturing yourself. Okay. So you are the heartbeat of your home. You truly have such a gift to be able to set the tone for your family, to be able to serve your family, to be able to provide a space that is warm and welcoming and just protected from the outside world. It really is a role that needs to be taken seriously. And I think for many years, it kind of got brushed off to the side, and I'm reigniting it. I am very passionate about helping equip you. And if you are depleted, running on empty, feeling exhausted, just no creativity, feeling like, you wake up in the morning and it's just another day, that is not where you need to be, right? And so something has to shift. And so I gave you some of these ideas that are great and helpful, but it really is about nurturing yourself. So, and we use this term and throw it around a lot, self-care, but you guys, self-care is not just spa days, okay? And it is not selfish. Even Jesus went away for 40 days with nobody around him to get refreshment. And so you have to figure out what that looks like for you. How do you get refreshed? Because you cannot be running 24/7 all the time and think that you are going to have what it takes to serve your family in the best way that you can. So, some ideas that if you are an extrovert, you're filled up differently than an introvert like me. So for me, I'm an introvert. I want time by myself. And so I have to block that out. And I'm grateful because now my husband is kind of the opposite to me. But after, there's a couple times during the week where after dinner, I've cleaned up and everything. And then he's like, what do you want to do tonight? And I'm like, I'm going to peace out. I'm going to do my own thing. And he's totally fine with that. And he knows I'm not mad at him. There's nothing wrong. That's just what Susan needs to do to refresh herself. And I'll go crawl into bed and I'll read a book or, whatever. And so just know what refreshes you. Maybe if you're an extrovert, it is having coffee with a friend. So all that to say, maybe it's journaling, maybe, listening to music, getting outside for a walk. Those are things that either are going to, build you up so that you have more capacity. And that is really your responsibility. I think for years I thought, oh, well, these things will just happen. or somebody else will plan something for me. And that's just not the case. It's my responsibility to take care of myself and what I need in order to be the best version of myself. And if I'm not making that happen, or I'm not asking for places to make that happen, right? We all are in different seasons, but I need to take that responsibility, right? So anyway, so I just wanted to remind you that it is really important. Rest doesn't just happen. Okay. It's not just going to magically where, there's a big opening space on your calendar and it's going to be like, oh, Susan's break. No, you've got to be intentional. You have to make space for that. So we had a whole month inside the collective where we talked about self-care and the ways that you can nurture yourself while nurturing your family. And it's just a great one to kind of review. You cannot pour into others with an empty cup is so true. And somebody who was a flight attendant for 20 years, it's that whole old adage. You cannot, put the oxygen mask on somebody else before putting it on you. You aren't going to survive. You have got to put it on you first and then care for the other people around you, right? So it really is up to you. So a couple things. Where can I build in time to breathe or refresh? What does that look like? Look at your week and carve out 15 to 20 minutes. And it's going to have to be more than once a week. And so you may need help figuring out what that looks like. But after you've kind of examined your week to see maybe where you can build in some margin, yeah. And maybe it's only 10 minutes a day, but you just need a spot in your schedule to exhale, right? Those are important. And then, what is something that you love to do that's life-giving, even if it's really small? Going outside for a walk for me for 10 minutes, you guys, it is a game changer. I can be in a really, like, I want to say foul mood, or my attitude is bad or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, we got to stop the show. I put on my shoes and I just go outside for 10 minutes and I walk and I come back and I'm a different person. But I'm the one that had to take control and I had to realize that that's what needed to happen. And it was okay. There was nothing wrong with me. I needed to feed my soul and that's what I needed to do. So just think about that for you because it's going to look different for everybody. For you, it's your daily Bible reading with a cup of coffee. Oh my gosh, yes, I know. I get to start my day like that every day, and I'm like so grateful. So, all right. So, as we close, those are some tips. I hope that they were helpful. And like I said, just take one or two and just kind of focus on those over the next week or two and just kind of see what does that look like for your family? How can you make those shifts? And so, as we close, I just wanted to kind of touch on, I mentioned a few times about the Confident Homemakers Collective. It is a membership that I have offered since April. That's when we officially opened the doors. And it's just been such a great way for people to go deeper, learning on different topics. We've covered time management, we've covered your role and why it really matters in the home. Because if you don't know how important you are to your family, then a lot of the things overtake us and we don't see how valid that our role is and how important it is. So anyway, we talked about meal planning and lots of things. So every month is a different topic. We have a monthly Q&A. And I do an exclusive podcast, sometimes two, inside the collective. But the best part, I think, for many is it's off of social media and you can ask a question at any time or ask for advice. And the wealth of amazing um, women that is in there that shares and will answer questions and it's beyond what I could have imagined. And so I would just encourage you that, if you're feeling like you're kind of alone and you're not sure, maybe some of these things you didn't learn as you were growing up. You didn't have a mentor. You didn't, there's no course, right? Homemaking 101 that you take, right? I mean, I had home ec when I was in high school, and that's dating myself. So there isn't a course. So why not invest in yourself come in for a month and see what it's about? The beautiful thing is you have access to all of the topics that we've covered so far, and you can take in what you want, and then, and that will kind of like you can binge watch, which is kind of nice. So, um, Oh, yes, Jocelyn, this wasn't, yeah, no, this is a free call for everybody. But yes, these are similar. She said that this wasn't an exclusive Homemakers Collective call. Yeah, but these are very similar to some of the calls that we do have. And we had Sally Clarkson come in a couple months ago and do a call just for us. It's just really, really beautiful. So anyway, and we are going to talk about Hughie in October. So, kind of even more on how we can create homes that are really not only beautiful without spending a lot of money, but those rhythms and routines and those traditions and things that really help our family. So, the one thing I will say is that I only open the doors every quarter. And so they are open right now until September 30th. And there's a link in the chat. I will put it with the recording as well if you want to go and check it out. Like I said, you're not signing up for a lifetime. It's $24 for a month. Come in, see what it's all about, and then you can see if it's for you, if you're finding value. And I think that you will find the community has just been such a blessing. People praying for each other. If you have a need, you come and share. And it's private. You're not, broadcasting something on social media for people to hear or read something that you want to keep personal. So anyway, it's been a beautiful community, and I'm just blessed because I had an idea, and it's just been just so amazing to see it come to fruition and be even more than I would have imagined. So doors close September 30th. If you want to hop in now, they will open again at the very end of December. But thank you guys for joining. I hope that you leave today with just a few ideas that you can implement to make your fall a little more cozy and have more connections with your family. So, all right, you guys, I will see you later.